Look at this beer. That's not at all what we're talking about. But now that I have your attention, I hope you're pumped for this video because that's what we are talking about, pumps. Well, more specifically, a mount for this pump and some way that you can get it out of your way but still make it accessible on your brew days. Welcome back to Cityscape Brewing, guys. I'm Dennis, and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about a mount that I'm going to create using parts that you either already have for your brewing system or something that you can easily pick up at a hardware store for just a couple of bucks. We're going to go through that whole thing after you guys hit that like and subscribe button, grab yourself a beer, and we're going to get after it. All right, I know you guys all hit that subscribe button because you're awesome, and you hit that like button because it helps out the channel a lot. But if you really want to be awesome, hit that join button below and become a channel member. Members enjoy awesome perks like some exclusive recipes, my brew day sheets to help you along the way and take some notes, and you get to watch my videos early before anybody else. So hit that join button and become awesome. All right, if you guys watched a couple of my videos lately, you'll know that I've been using this pump that comes with the Clawhammer system. I did modify it by adding a T on the top here and then adding another shutoff valve so I don't have to switch over lines during the middle to go from recirculating to cooling. But one of the problems that I had was when I added all this stuff and I have hoses on here, it makes the front a lot heavier. And so I added this little plate thing, but it's just kind of hanging there with some zip ties. And it's also on the bottom shelf. I have to walk around, shut off the valves, that kind of stuff, rather than kind of doing it right here in front of everybody. I don't really want it to be on this wood desk version that I have here, and so I want it to be over stainless steel or at least over something that's easily cleanable, because sometimes when you're unhooking, you get drips and that kind of stuff. Plus this thing gets hot or vibrates, that kind of thing. So when I was looking at examples of different mounts or other things, I saw one online that's called the Exchillerator pump mount. Currently, it's out of stock. I was actually just gonna buy one of those, but it's also kind of expensive for what really it is. It's a cam lock, which I already have one of these things, mounted basically to a plate where you can slide on this brew pump, and then you can easily unhook this cam lock to wash it, clean it, whatever you need to do. And so what I'm thinking of doing is just creating a similar concept using a cam lock that I already have and some basic parts that I found at the hardware store, including a bracket that you would usually use for an electrical mount. And so this little box here, it's a shallow 3/4 inch box. I will have it in the video description, and then a faceplate, blank faceplate that goes over the top of this. But this I'm going to then drill some holes on and actually get it to stay on this cam lock to eventually hook to the leg of my brew cart. It's gonna be a little trial and error, but we're gonna go ahead and get through it together and we'll see how it works. So first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and get this old bracket off because I no longer need it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and clip off my zip ties, which was kind of a temporary solution anyway. And now we have the plate that we are going to measure and drill some holes into this top plate. We're gonna center it on here, we're gonna mark some holes, and then we're gonna drill it to be able to put some screws on there and hold this bracket on the bottom side of the mount. All right, we're gonna center this as much as I can. We're gonna mark some holes right in the middle with the Sharpie. Done. Next, I'm going to be using these stainless steel screws and some stainless steel locking nuts that are 6/32. The bolts happen to be 3/8 inch long, which I believe will be long enough to get through everything that we need today, but not too long where they're going to be sticking out. So we need to make sure that our drill bit is large enough to make sure that that can go through there. I also picked up some number 6 washers in stainless steel as well. I'm going to use this 5/32 drill bit in order to drill through the plate by putting it on a block here so I make sure that I don't ruin my workbench. And there you go. You got all 4 holes drilled just like that. The next and more tricky part may be this bracket here. I am going to use the side that has some kind of reinforcement things next to this cam lock. And so I want to actually put it probably like this on here So this is away from the bracket, therefore I can unscrew it easily, because if it were like this, I would have a harder time doing that. I don't want to put it on one of the round areas because I'm only going to get like 1 or 2 screws, but there is kind of a flatter edge to this kind of teardrop shape here that I think would work nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and line up the middle of this, and then I'm going to try and mark 2 holes. And the reason I want 2 is so this doesn't spin, right? There is a little lip on the top which will help as well with spinning, but I want 2 bolts to go through here so this doesn't have any room to spin around like this on there once it's mounted. So the nice thing is it's got a little bit of a groove here. I'm going to actually use that to kind of line up and center this thing where it'll be kind of centered on the leg rather than where I'm going to be drilling it. That doesn't really matter. But I do want to put look inside here and kind of see where it starts curving back. And I'm going to kind of put a line on the outside of the cam lock and then again on the other side here about here. That means I need to have 2 holes within those 2 lines, and then once we get them cut, I'll line it up and mark it on the actual box bracket itself. So we're gonna go ahead and drill 2 holes a little bit further apart, just make sure they're not touching, but that will give it some stability and make sure it doesn't turn. All right, to do this drilling part, now that we have our holes marked where we are going to be drilling the holes in here, what I want to do is actually open this thing up, and we may need to block this up a little bit in order to be able to lay this flat. So I've got actually a roll of duct tape here. I'm just going to lay that down. I'm going to lay this piece of wood on the top of it, and then I'm going to be able to then drill pretty easily into this without it slipping down or going off to the side. So I'm actually going to turn it around since I'm right-handed here. And we will slowly start drilling into that to make a little pilot hole. You want to make sure these are really center, by the way, because there are edges on either side of this cam lock. You want to be right in the middle. Even if you didn't mark it that way, you want to be right in the middle. And then I totally did what I just told you guys not to do and got this one a little bit close to the wall, but that's okay. It did get all the way through on the inside, and that's really what matters. And now that we have that done, we're gonna go ahead and put this thing lined up again. So the cam lock is centered on, or the leg would be centered on this thing. And so it's kind of not feeling oblong when it's screwed all the way in. We're gonna go ahead and try to get this as centered as we can. And then I'm going to kind of hold it with my thumb, and I'm going to open it up. And that's going to allow me to kind of mark that spot. It doesn't have to be exact, with the Sharpie that I have to be able to drill the holes then in the bracket. So just go ahead and poke your Sharpie through there, and hopefully you'll get to the plate itself. So you can then mark your bracket and drill your holes there as well. It's important to kind of mark those holes with the cam lock so you get the same distance. Obviously that one's a little bit off, they're not exactly even. And so if I would have drilled these first, for instance, this would have been tilted when I tried to go put that in, or I would have had to drill some different holes in the cam lock. And so that's why I use the Sharpie holding it up against there just like it's gonna be. And now we will drill our holes into this carefully. And there we go. Got those done. You can clean these edges up if you'd like with a little metal file, or just kind of run your drill over the top of them. That'll kind of clean those off. And that way you don't have any sharp metal burrs or edges on your bracket. But we're done with the hard part. All right, and now for the fun part, we get to assemble. So we're gonna go ahead and actually use the inside of this to put the bolt through. We don't wanna have a lot so it doesn't hit our leg in the middle of this. So we're gonna go ahead and put those through the hole. So I'm gonna put the second screw in the hole here. I'm gonna hold those kind of with my finger and flip it upside down. That is gonna allow me then to get my bracket and find the two nuts here with the bracket and get those slid on. The holes are just perfect enough where I probably don't need a washer for these. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start threading on the locking nuts here. Kind of hard to see. And if it helps to use a screwdriver or something like that because you can't get your fingers in there, if you don't have real nimble fingers or anything, go ahead and do that. You can hold that in place and just use a screwdriver from the other side, which is what I'm gonna do to kind of hand tighten them at first. So I'm just gonna kind of take my thumb on the nuts and then I'm going to just screw them down a little bit until they start turning. And now I'm gonna grab my socket wrench in order to tighten these down completely. All right, I have a 5/16 inch socket wrench, a little socket wrench here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on. What I'm gonna do on this side is I'm actually gonna hold this with a screwdriver just so it doesn't turn. And I'm going to then use the ratcheting feature and tighten this thing down all the way. Same with the other side here. And these are, the reason we're using the locking nuts themselves is they have a little bit of a gasket on the inside here that's gonna help grab this, and when this is vibrating from actually using the pump, these won't slide off at all. All right, there it is. It is nice and snug. I'm able to go ahead and close this off. We're gonna kind of test this on the leg of my, we're gonna go ahead and test this on the leg of my table, and we're gonna see if that works. So now I'm gonna go ahead and attach this plate the exact same way to the bottom of my chiller here, using the same bolts and nuts. For these, you will need the washer side so it doesn't slide through the holes in the chiller here. So we're gonna go ahead and put one of those things in just to kind of hold the first one. You will not need them on the back though. So we will then put one of the nuts on, locking nuts, and then also do the other side the same way. So grab one of the washers, we're gonna then go through the back side, that way it doesn't slip around. All right, then we go ahead and tighten these things down using our screwdriver and our socket. And we are all set. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and test this out, a little prototype, if you will, and I'm gonna put this thing on here. So this pump is gonna sit just a little bit lower than the table, so it's kind of out of the way still, but it's still above the table and kind of getting out of the way. Now, when I tighten this thing all the way up, and I kind of knew this doing this project, is that my cam lock doesn't fit snugly on this table leg. And so what I need to do is either put a set screw, which I can do just underneath here to kind of hold it, or I can get a pipe clamp, like a metal pipe clamp, and I can clamp that all the way around. And that way I can still take the cam lock off easily, clean this whole thing, take it off, but I can also not have to unscrew anything. I can just leave it kind of sit here in place. But what I really want to do is kind of find out where this is going to be when the chiller's actually sitting on here itself. So what I'm going to do is grab my chiller now that we have the plate screwed on the bottom, and I'm going to set this thing on here. And so I want to be able to reach the valves here, so I don't want that all the way out. So I may have to, I might be able to just do it like this, kind of right off to the side. That's the nice thing about the cam lock, is that I can actually have this thing, angled if I want to, or I could turn it in if I wanted to, that kind of thing. But I want to be able to get to these. So I can't have it so high where it's not going to be done. But I can also do this and have it really high so I can easily reach these things as well. And so it's kind of up to you where you want to do it. And that might be the best case why that pipe lock might be the best thing, because when that's on there, you can kind of move this freely. If you wanted to adjust it later on, you can move this down. Now the weight of this thing's holding it in place just the way it is, but I don't want to just do that with the weight, because I think that might just fall with the vibration and clunk down and actually could break your pump, so you don't want to do that. So you do want to have something secure underneath here, and you do want to screw these things down. But I'm going to go ahead and get the plate itself screwed onto here, And then I'm gonna find a solution, probably a pipe clamp, to go right underneath here in order to hold this in place. And then as I brew, I can kind of adjust this as needed to go on my table. But you can kind of see how versatile it is, because it's really easy. When I'm done with my brew day, I can quickly grab this thing off and I can go rinse this whole thing off, clean it off, and I can actually put a bucket underneath here if I need to have any dripping, things like that's not gonna be on my table. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing screwed on, and we're gonna finish it up. Now it's important to remember which side that you want this thing facing when you're having your hoses and other things. So make sure that you're positioning this thing correctly. Either you want it this way or you want it this way before you screw this thing down. This is how I want it on my table. So I'm gonna go ahead and screw these things down now. Again, using those same washers on the top, and we may also need them on the bottom for this one as well. All right, for this, you're gonna want washers on both sides of these bolts. So I'm gonna get my washer. All right, all we have to do is tighten them down. These may be a little bit too snug to go ahead and put one of these socket wrenches on, so you can go ahead and actually just use a pair of pliers or a wrench, adjustable wrench if you have one. All right, there you go. DIY Exchillerator shelf. This thing, number one, is solid. I mean, that thing not going anywhere, no matter how much shaking or anything that does, that thing is solidly on there. This thing costs under $20 total, even cheaper if you already have one of these cam locks. And so this is super inexpensive when it's all tightened up and stuff. There's no vibrating, no shaking. It's all good to go. It won't make any noises when it's sitting on there. Another option to keep this thing tight is to put a rubber piece in between this cam lock and the leg itself. That would help with any vibrations or anything like that. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but I may do that if it becomes an issue while I'm filming, because I do film during my brew days. And so if it vibrates, you can always do that too. That's also going to help bring that slack in between there and tighten this thing up. That might be all you need to do. So if you have a pump, this is an easy one. So hopefully you found this video helpful. Hopefully this is stuff you like to see on the channel and some extra DIY stuff. You know me, I like power tool and beers. So when you mix the two, well, then it's a good time for me. So if you found the video helpful, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. If you have any questions whatsoever, comments, etc., leave them in the comment section. I'll also have all of the parts that you need in the video description, so you don't need to look anywhere. They're going to be right down below. With that, happy brewing and cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. You're awesome. You want to be even more awesome? Hit that join button and become a member. You'll get exclusive members-only recipes and other perks like brew day sheets, and watch my videos early as they drop before anyone else. So hit that join button below, become a member, and be awesome.